All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for episode 3 of the H5 Inspired webinar series. I'm Seth Butte from NAU's Arizona Institute for Education and the Economy. We're once again excited to share the stories of creative and innovative solutions from and for our H5 Coalition partners. Today, we'll learn about the Center for High School Success, their ninth grade success initiatives, and their partnership with Camelback High School in the Phoenix Union High School District. Get ready to be inspired by their collaboration that has resulted in improved ninth grade on track rates, reduced chronic absenteeism, and transformed Camelback school culture. If you have questions along the way, you can post them in the Q&A, and we should have a few minutes at the end for questions. And now I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the Center for High School Success, Kaaren Andrews, and the Camelback High School Principal, James Arndt.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us, Seth. It's always really fun to get to talk to educators from all over the place and to join with James to kind of tell the story of what has transpired in Phoenix Union and especially at and through the eyes of Camelback High School. So like Seth said, and you pronounced my name perfectly. Thank you. I'm Kaaren Andrews. I'm coming to you from Seattle, where I was a principal for 17 years and then 3 also in California. So finished 20 years of doing that and still in recovery mode, I think, in a lot of ways. Um, James, can you see the screen? Do we have? Okay, perfect. And I come to this work because of my experience and, when I learned about the impact of ninth grade, a focus on ninth grade, what it can actually do to keep kids engaged and have them successful throughout high school. It was just sort of a no-brainer. I wanted to jump in and support schools and districts with putting this approach in place. So what we do, oops, let's see here. Oops, there. Yeah, what we do is we partner with high schools and districts to increase ninth grade on track rates. And what we see right away actually is that by focusing on this ninth grade on track work, what we see is a reduction in chronic absenteeism, improvements in student behaviors, boosts in teacher morale, strengthening of CTE and dual credit pathways, and eventually raising of graduation rates. And right now, Center for High School Success is in 11 states. You can see this, serving 84 districts, 169 schools, 11 of which are in the Phoenix Union High School District. Just to be really clear about what we're talking about when we say on track, what I mean is a ninth grader's on track if they complete a quarter of the credits needed to graduate and earn no more than 1 F. And the reason that's important is that students who are on track at the end of ninth grade are 3 times more likely to graduate, and that it's the strongest predictor of high school graduation than any other student designation. So more so than race, ethnicity, poverty, test scores, mobility. So it is the best predictor of who graduates high school. And knowing that, you'd think everyone would just do it and focus on it. But the reason that it's challenging, the reason that they don't is that it's challenging because in ninth grade, kids are 3 to 5 times more likely to fail a course than any other grade, and they attend less. Their total absences triple and unexcused absences quadruple. So it makes it hard when they're not there and they're failing more. So it requires some support to get it started and up and off the ground. Also because it's a proactive measure versus what ends up happening so often is we get into reactive mode. So what we do is we help schools and districts by sitting down alongside them as former high school principals, and we do side by side coaching of leadership as well as teachers in leadership roles and teams of ninth grade teachers. We provide training, like I said, coaching, collaboration opportunities, really clear ways to look at data, and then tools and resources that are attached to our ninth grade success roadmap, which Seth will send after this is done. You'll get links to all of this. I want to just point out really quickly that we have some really strong results during a really challenging time in our history here, and just in these are the biggest cities in all of the states that we are currently in. And you can see Phoenix Union improved 105%, which is pretty incredible over the last 4 years. And I'm going to turn it over to James. You can see Phoenix, the rise over time, and then you can see the orange is Camelback juxtaposed alongside there. So James, over to you. James is an incredible principal. If you all don't know him, I really encourage you to come see him and learn from this journey in person on January 28th. I'll put a link in the chat. We'll talk a little bit about it at the end.
Hey everyone, my name's James Arndt, proud principal of Camelback High School. I like to consider myself a ninth grade evangelist. I strongly believe in just this idea that we need to over-resource, support, and protect our ninth grade students. I mean, we know teenagers are having a tough go. The world is very hard for them to navigate, and there are so many more distractions and things competing for the teenage attention, which means our job in schools is even harder, even though these teenagers are just like that much more vulnerable in 2025. And so, I mean, all teenagers are having a tough time, but think about those ninth graders who are taking this big leap of faith from their tiny middle schools and K-8s into these massive high schools. For the most part, in most cases, kids are coming into these massive high schools, and unless we are being intentional about supporting them, they can get lost. And so I'm a big believer in sort of, first of all, sending all your attention and resources to ninth graders, and then doing it through the method prescribed by the Center for High School Success, which is in these ninth grade success teams in the freshman house model. I'm really proud to share these results. If we just look here, Kaaren can show you we've gone from an 42% on track rate up to 87% as of just this last semester, which is the highest we've ever had. And we've done it by using the tools from the Center for High School Success. But I want to tell you just a little bit about who we are. If you can go to the next slide. So we are, right in the middle of Phoenix. For those who know the Phoenix area, Camelback is actually in a fairly affluent part of town, but we do not in any way serve an affluent population. We are definitely a Title I school. Over 90% of our students, qualify as that sort of like Title I free and reduced lunch criteria. We serve a largely Hispanic population, but a far and away non-white population. We have over 30 languages spoken at our school. We serve a very large refugee population. And all that to say, like, we are a school that, according to most research and statistics, should not be finding this kind of success. That's what the data tells us. And so we're very proud to be looking at that data and saying, no, that's not who we're going to be. And we've proven it's not who we are, with nearly 90% of our freshmen on track. I want to name that it's particularly important for us and for those people in sort of, central Maricopa County. We have a totally, disaggregated system with all these K-8 districts and charters. And so Camelback alone has 43 different schools that send us ninth graders. 43 different sets of rules and expectations and academic standards. And we are melting all those children into one Camelback way of doing things. And so I already said there is a moral imperative to love and support freshmen. And that moral imperative is just doubled in our context because of how many different schools are sending us ninth graders. It also makes me that much more proud. And I think it's even that much more of a testament to how this model works, knowing this should be really hard for us with 43 partner schools, and we found a way to make it work. And I think we've made it work because of the ingredients that the Center for High School Success has given us. If we go to the next slide, I want to touch a little bit on, absenteeism is sorry, I have other good news before. One thing to note about ninth grade support is to me, it's a catalyst for changing your whole school, right? If you work on supporting your seniors, that's really great for that senior class, but they're gone the next year. They are not a sustaining factor in improving your school. I started in 2020, and I knew in 2020 that freshmen were going to be my jam, that's where we were going to spend our time and resources. And sure enough, 4 years later from 2020, so that first group of freshmen that we over-resourced is also the first year Camelback's been a B school in nearly 2 decades, right? And so no secret that by focusing on ninth graders, 4 years later, we saw that payoff to become a B school. And not only that, but to grow by, 15 points in that state, measurement. So it's not that we barely snuck into a B school, it's that we grew so much that we're actually just 3 points away from being an A school. And then it's no secret that like that was our first freshman house. So for those school leaders and district leaders that are wondering, like, how do I move this whole ship? Well, you look at your ninth graders, you start with that cohort of students that are going to sustain your system for the next 4 years. I want to talk about just some of our other data. This is where I was going to get into absenteeism. This obviously it's a hot topic in schools. We're trying to figure out how do we get kids in school. The ninth grade model has proven to be quite effective for us. You can see just in 1 year, we grew our amount of students that are there 80% of the time or more. We grew that by 21%. And this data is not in this slide, but what you actually see every year that we have a freshman house cohort, it carries on to sophomores. The sophomore attendance is approved, and then it carries on to juniors. Like if you do attendance right in that first year, it carries on. It's a intervention whose impact is felt every single year because sophomore attendance improves, junior attendance improves, and then senior attendance improves. And this is our huge celebration. It's just that after this first semester, we're up to 85% of our students that are hitting that attendance goal. I mean, for a Title I urban school, that is just simply unheard of. And I think it's largely because of the ninth grade success model that we've implemented at our school. So Kaaren mentioned this. We are hosting a visit on January 28th. I know Mr. Butte will be there. Seth will be joining us. And we're eager to host more people. It's not about our brand or our school. It's about this idea that ninth graders need our support and that as leaders in education, we have a moral imperative to give those ninth graders that support. Because if we take good care of them, they're going to be fine. Like Kaaren said, the data shows that if we take good care of those ninth graders, they're going to be fine. And my last celebration slide that I'll share around that is that the other place we've seen a lot of success in our school is in dual enrollment. We have the third highest dual enrollment in all of Maricopa County. We're second only to like Xavier and Desert Vista. And let me tell you, kids are not ready to take dual enrollment unless they had a really good ninth grade year. And so to my earlier point that ninth grade success becomes school-wide success, I think this dual enrollment is a perfect encapsulation of that because just this last year, we had 600 kids take dual enrollment. I mean, 600 kids, nearly 30% of our entire student body was earning a college credit by the end of the year. And again, that does not happen without a successful ninth grade year. So as you can tell, I'm a ninth grade evangelist. I believe in supporting our ninth graders. I believe in the moral imperative. And what's best is that you don't have to wonder, how do I support them? You simply talk to Center for High School Success and Kaaren over here, and they've got the secret sauce. They've got the roadmap, and then we can all take good care of our ninth graders. So that's my spiel, Seth.
Thanks, and we're happy to enter in conversation. I'm going to put the link to register with all the information about visiting Camelback on January 28th in the chat right now. But that's really where, if you come to that, you'll see these practices, these observable practices, and you'll feel and see exactly how they've done it. And I think the other part that is just important to know is that Thea Andrade, the superintendent now in Phoenix, started back when she was the chief academic officer, really taking this and making it a priority across the whole district. And they really, it's not just one school that has one outstanding leader. It is. I mean, you see him right here, but it's also all 11 schools are engaged. I mean, it's a systemic, 11 comprehensive schools are engaged. It's a systemic approach now. So, if a kid moved schools, they would still, have these systems in place. leave a little space here for any questions or thoughts.
Does anyone have any questions for Kaaren or James?
I think maybe some of you have registered to come on the 28th already.
So I do have a question for you too. Could you briefly describe the implementation process? Like, I know it's a system, but how does it go? How does it get started? And then
Yeah.
maybe any challenges that you had to overcome along the way.
So the unit of change, the way this really gets going is through setting up teams of teachers and that are regularly every week or every other week at minimum looking at data. They set key performance indicators. We're looking at students who are failing 1 or 2 courses or who are attending 80% to 80 to 90%. So they're seeing success in many places in 4 or 5 classes. They're there 4 to 5 days a week. So it's a system that sets up a team of teachers that look at the strengths, what's working for the kid, because often teachers feel so alone in this, right? Or they're just attacked with their content area team. And this says, okay, every student is going to be known, and these teachers are sharing responsibility for really supporting the whole kid across the whole day, across the whole year together. James, do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
more?
So I would start with implementation starts with leaders who are bought in, because the ninth grade success model is going to require people to really think deeply about how they allocate their resources. And so it starts with what Kaaren was mentioning, ninth grade success team. So at the core of that team are the content teachers, math, English, science, maybe social studies, depending on your environment. For us, there's actually a health teacher in there as well, a counselor, and then, of course, wraparound support services if you have them, a social worker, an attendance liaison. I mean, each school has their own sort of, supporting cast, but you decide what that team is. And then that team has to have a master schedule built around them so they all have a common prep, because the secret sauce is that this group of people will get together on a weekly basis to discuss the kids in their caseload, the kids that they share. So for Camelback, we have 600 freshmen. 600 is great for 4 teams, 150 kids on each team. And so each of my ninth grade success teams, math, science, health, English, social worker, counselor, attendance liaison, all of those people have to meet once a week to talk about their shared caseload of about 150 kids. And then, so once you've built that structure, you have to build the data system. Who are the kids with 2 Fs? Okay, you have 2 Fs. You are so close to being on track. Let's help you erase one of those Fs to get you back on track. And the team collaborates and comes up with the best plan to get these kids back on track. You are taking full ownership. Now, the side benefits of what's happening with all that is you are shrinking your school. If you're a big school like my own, you are now shrinking this 600-person freshman class to just 150. And that's a lot more manageable if you're a teenager. You see familiar people, you see familiar teachers. And so you're shrinking these big schools into smaller environments so the kids can feel more safe and supported. Now, if you're a small school, I want to be clear, there is room for this too, because even in a small school, you can be lost. And if you don't have a ninth grade success team wrapped around you as a ninth grader, you may not know who to turn to. So even in a small school that just has 100 freshmen, who is on the ninth grade success team? You define the team, you get a schedule and a system that supports that team getting together on a regular basis, because you all now are responsible for those freshmen under your wings. So I think that to implementation, it starts with sort of a leader who's going to be bought in to allocate the resources, and the biggest resource being time. How are you going to create the time so that you can then create your ninth grade success team that is keeping track of these kiddos?
Thank you. So for January 28, who are the ideal people to visit? And then
Yeah.
we're gonna see some of these systems in action. Is that our understanding?
Yes, that is it. The ideal people to visit are the district leaders who are responsible for the high schools. So principal supervisors, superintendents, assistant superintendents, and high school principals. Those are the folks that if you can get those folks there to see this in action, they'll hear a lot more about, in more detail about how this works and how to get it started. You'll walk away with a lot of resources and connection, but then you have once. I have yet to see anyone actually who's gone and seen this work in action at Camelback and at other demonstration schools where they don't want to do it because it just works. It's not like some really hard curriculum to implement, or something that you have to just keep on buying and training and doing. It's a mindset shift and a way of allocating resources you already have. It's just realigning them, and then having the support to just pull that thread across the whole year and stay focused on it. And so if you have the leadership buy-in, then we move from there to training the teacher teams alongside, moving that way. So I'd say the leaders are the most important people to get to the visit.
And I think part of what we do in the visit, Seth, is help people see the value in, many principals spend their time talking about their juniors and seniors. They're talking about their juniors to have them pass the ACT, and they're talking about their seniors to make sure they get a diploma. And of course, we have to do that. But what I would challenge every leader is that instead of taking sort of this, reactive, oh gosh, the test is tomorrow type approach, get your attention down to your ninth graders and do the work early on that makes your life a lot easier when they are juniors and seniors. It is a challenge to the mindset of how we approach high school, because when I talk to other principals, they're only talking about their upperclassmen. And I just think that's a mistake. I think that when you come through the school visit, you'll see why it's worth changing the value system to shift more focus to ninth graders. And I'll give you one example. Most principals are allocating their best teachers for juniors and seniors. And I would make an argument that you ought to put your best teachers with your ninth graders, exactly the place they probably don't want to be, but it's where they're needed. And so we have a discussion about that at the visit.
Yeah. And I think also by what you did, you had to do a lot to try to convince people that that's where they wanted to be. But now those teachers would never go anywhere else, right? I mean, they're so much happier having each other as a team to support all of those 150 kids. They no longer feel like they're having to do it alone, and those kids know that they're talking about the teachers are collectively invested in their success, and they will talk about them if one falls off a little bit and needs some extra support. And they actually really, they like it. I mean, the kids, you'll hear from a group of kids too. They'll do a panel of kids, students. They'll do a panel of teachers. You'll actually see a live, real, authentic team meeting. You'll see how they use part of their advisory time to really target individual supports and interventions that kids need. And hear from them about sort of the whole journey. So we hope you all will come and check it out. And if you can't make it this time and you really do want to see it in action, you'll get our contact info, and you can reach out, and I'd be happy to take you. James and I would be happy to give you a tour and let you come in another time as well. Or if you wanted to go on a really nice trip to Indianapolis, you could come see a school in Indianapolis. Doesn't have quite the same, fun effect as going to Phoenix for people, but you all are from Arizona. Maybe you like to go on a cold weather trip.
All right.
Yeah.
I think so. Just a quick reminder, we will send out links to information to get a hold of you, Kaaren.
Thank you.
We'll send a reminder email because we met before in December. I sent out an invite on behalf of your organization to all of our coalition members. Well, reminder about how to register for the trip. And then I'll also send a link to the video for this recording for the people that weren't able to attend today.
Wonderful. And just so you know that there is a grant and there for ninth grade success that is likely going to continue to grow through the Arizona legislature and Department of Ed. And so keep a lookout for that too. And it's beginning to pick up some real interest and steam as well to sort of support the work.
And we're in the loop on that too. So we'll definitely be communicating that out to our coalition partners.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Any last minute questions before it's time to go? All right. Thank you, James. Appreciate your time. Kaaren, it's really great to have you with us today.
Bye, everyone. Pleasure.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Have a great day.